So when Duelist Nexus launched in the TCG, I initially believed that it would have no impact on the metagame until we got a ban list. I mean, in my head, Kashtira and Purely were already destined to be the best decks regardless of what the other decks were capable of. But it turns out that even without a ban list, I was completely wrong because the newer decks like Unchained are actually extremely good. And they definitely changed the game enough to the point where we have some new trends going on in the format. So you already know it today, I will be going over all of them and try to explain them at the best of my ability. But before this video starts, make sure you smash the like and subscribe button for me real quick. It's actually been scientifically proven that it decreases the probability of bricking, so what are you waiting for? There you go, you're the best, and now let's jump right into it. Alright, so first things first, let's talk about Droll and Logbird. I can't talk about this card without first paying homage to Chansey's video about it. So he actually went over how he believed that Droll and Logbird really wasn't as good as people actually thought it was, and even though a lot of people disagreed, I actually think he's spitting facts. Now, we didn't communicate with each other on this topic, but because of the fact that we both have some experience with this format and we have a lot of theory on it, we kind of think alike. Now, Droll is a card with several pros and cons that are equally as high. It is the epitome of a card that does either a lot or absolutely nothing depending on the context. I mean, against Kashtira, for example, if they have to go Prosperity in the field spell to get their stuff going and you draw them there, they're pretty much gonna pass turn doing nothing. But on the flip side, if they have Shifter, you legally cannot use Droll because it is one of those cards that unfortunately you have to send to the graveyard as a cost. So in that instance, it serves literally zero purpose, just like Veiler. So already when it comes to the most popular deck, it has a lot of uncontrollable variants, but it gets worse. It's not always good against Purely because 6 out of their 10 quickly spell cards can be used on the draw phase. And to be fair, even if you draw them successfully, it's not like you're really shutting down their whole play because they can still go Purely Noir to set their trap card and then summon Purely Noir on your turn. And so yeah, saying that Droll is extremely good against every deck in the format is big cap. And especially against Purely, I mean, it doesn't even stop their most dangerous line of play, which is going into Purely Noir. And again, their deck is like mathematically designed to beat Droll more often than not. And let's not even bother talking about Unchained. That deck is skyrocketing in popularity and it gives absolutely no shits about Droll. I mean, it sets from deck to field and special summons from deck, so it's not really losing to Droll anytime soon. And even the one card that searches from deck to hand, which is Yama, can also recycle back from graveyard to hand. So yeah, we can all agree on the fact that it sucks against them. And obviously, drawing Droll against Labyrinth basically translates to having a hand of 4 cards instead of 5. So what is the solution? What did people choose to replace it with? I would love to say that they're replacing it with more handshots, but at the same time that would kind of be misleading. Some people are straight up just playing more copies of the triple tactic spell cards because they're really just that good. Good going first, second, and even against the trap deck sometimes. But one of the most popular main deck blowouts that people are now playing again is Nibiru. It's good against Unchained if they play into it, and to be honest, they kind of have to because if they don't, their end board is kind of a little meh. Now, I'm gonna say something interesting here. So in reality, Unchained is more of a mid-range deck, but you know how pro players are built, they always want to convert everything into combo. And you know, they've been cooking and they came up with a pretty nice solution. I've talked about it yesterday, but the DD engine as well as the Muckracker into Griffin combo is actually gaining a lot in popularity. So as I've explained before, Griffin is extremely good and it allows you to live without Caesar. Because, you know, even if this card is extremely good, it does have flaws. I mean, it's both your best friend and your worst enemy at the same time, because if your opponent can steal it with triple tactic talents or change of heart, you're completely screwed. Oh, and speaking of the devil, change of heart is gaining a lot in popularity too. But yeah, if your opponent can steal your Caesar, then he'll start negating your cards, and then you start completely losing to your own card. And it's not once per turn, by the way. In the mirror match, they're just gonna be making the Machine X on top and then Zeus and completely break your board with pretty much just one card. That's why even though Caesar is extremely good, it's not necessarily always the best call. And just like I said, the 2 different triple tactic spell cards are seeing quite a lot of play now. So again, Talents is basically Change of Heart, and Thrust can search pretty much any normal spell or trap card out there. Now fun fact, even going first Thrust is extremely good in the Unchained deck very specifically because you're going to be getting access to your Unchained trap cards, which are basically combo pieces. And going second, it gets you pretty much any board breaker you want. Yeah, that deck is well equipped to beat everyone. But yeah, like I said, I truly recommend going for the Griffin combo. So it actually gives you both of the trap cards because the first one you get it off of Sarama and the second one you recycle back with Griffin and you also draw 1 card. And again, Griffin being a continuous floodgate means that you don't even have to activate anything, meaning you're also inherently playing around triple tactic talents. And like I said, Griffin is insanely good against pretty much everyone, whether we're talking about Kashtira, Branded, or even the mirror match. Oh, and you're not ending your board on any Xyz monsters, you're only ending on Link monsters, so Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse do absolutely nothing. So yeah, when you go into Griffin, you're playing around pretty much everything you can ask for. It's actually really correct. Now, speaking of which, are the books still good? Yeah, Book of Moon and Book of Eclipse are really good, and they're actually being main decked in pretty much almost every single deck list I have seen that at least topped a few of the recent events. Again, they're pretty fantastic against Kashtira, purely, but not really good against Chimera because they have the graveyard effect of Cornfield Coatl to protect their cards. And it's also a fusion-based strategy, so it's inherently bad against them. But when you deck build, you're trying to be the most popular deck so that your deck is mathematically correct, so playing Book of Moon and Book of Eclipse is still definitely correct. By the way, Forbidden Lance is also seeing quite a lot of play, especially in Kashtira, because it does protect you from the book cards as well as infinite impermanence. But there is a really cool interaction where you can actually use it against your opponent when you're playing against Purely if they're going Purely Yeep, target their Purely Xyz monster. By making their monster unaffected by their own spells and traps, you're preventing them from evolving into X Purely Noir. So it's actually really nice that Forbidden Lance can be kind of like a Call by the Grave / cross out in a way since you're protecting yourself, but also in a way a Book of Moon going second in order to break boards. Yeah, that was complicated for absolutely no reason, but whatever, you get the point. Now I do have some other interesting tech cards I want to cover. First one is not really spicy, it's just to remind you that a lot of decks can play Shifter, not just Kashtira. So yeah, Rescue Ace, Labyrinth, and some other stupid decks can actually play this card, which is a little annoying. And again, Rescue Ace can also ably lock you, which is extremely frustrating if you don't have the out for it, which is just one Lingerable in your extra deck. By the way, I'm not speaking hypothetically, these things are actually going on in YCSs. I mean YCSs, only YCS Sao Paulo and a few regionals, but whatever. Anyways, in the finals of YCS Sao Paulo, we saw a really interesting Vanquished Soul deck featuring the Super Heavy Samurai engine. And I'm gonna have to say it's pretty filthy. So Prodigy Wakoshi is a 1-card rank 4 or a card that allows you to summon Omega or Baron de Fleur depending on your needs. But in the Vanquished Soul deck, the best rank 4 that you can summon is the Battling Boxer King Dempsey because it can search Horizon. As a matter of fact, it searches any level 4 lower fire monster from your deck to your hand, which is really good in case you are playing Infernoble as well. So yeah, the Super Heavy Samurai engine is still definitely really good, and you should consider it because it's not the only deck that can splash in this package. Oh, and another relevant thing to talk about. The Purely deck, alongside Chimera, Branded, and even Sword Soul to a certain extent, are back to playing a pretty interesting side deck card that they used to play, back in the days. Essentially, they are citing 3 copies of Crossout Designator with 1 copy of Dimensional Barrier going second in order to negate the Dimensional Barrier. It's pretty much their only way to survive because they only summon 1 kind of monster from the extra deck, so if they do get hit by D-Barrier, they're losing if they don't have the Crossout. I think I've also seen like 1 Purely player run Cyframe Epsilon, which negates trap cards, but it's kinda dog shit. But yeah, back to Crossout, D-Barrier was actually seeing a lot of play because in this format, a lot of decks can only summon 1 kind of monster from the extra deck. But of course, people change cards in their deck just as often as they change underwear. Now, the new trend consists of playing Anti-Spell instead of D-Barrier because they can't really stop it unless they sack like Cosmic Cyclone and stuff. And I mean, are you citing Cosmic Cyclone against everything when you also have to cite in hand traps and board breakers? Anti-Spell has the power level of a ban card, and for some reason, it's a 3. I find it hilarious, but who am I to make completely rational observations here? Anti-Spell is unfair and destroys everyone, so it should be in your side deck. It allows you to turn off your brain and still win games, which is really nice. Except when you're on the receiving end. Then you complain about how the card should get banned. But then when you use it to win all your game 3s, all of a sudden the card is fair. Yu-Gi-Oh players. Anyways, that's all I had for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Peace.